It was a grey afternoon in late autumn, the kind where the air feels heavy with unspoken regrets. I wandered through the park, my footsteps crunching on fallen leaves, my mind tangled in a mess of failures. At 28, I felt like life had already passed me by. My job was a dead end, my relationship shallow, and my dreams, once vivid, had faded into a dull ache. I wasn't sure why I came to the park that day. Maybe I just needed to breathe somewhere other than my cramped apartment. The benches were mostly empty, save for one where an old man sat, his weathered hands folded over a wooden cane. He wore a faded coat, its collar turned up against the chill, and his eyes, deep and searching, seemed to hold stories the world had forgotten. I don't know why I sat beside him. Maybe it was the way he looked at the horizon, as if he could see something I couldn't. I slumped onto the bench, staring at the ground, feeling the weight of my own insignificance. The silence between us was comfortable, not demanding, like the park itself. After a while he spoke, his voice soft but steady, like a river carving through stone. You look like you're carrying the world, son. I glanced at him, surprised, but his eyes were kind, not judging. I shrugged, not trusting myself to speak. He nodded, as if my silence said enough. I was like you once, he said, lost in my own head, thinking life owed me something. His words stung, but they were gentle, like a hand pulling me from deep water. He didn't ask my story, and I didn't offer it. Instead, he pointed to a sparrow pecking at the ground. See that bird? It doesn't worry about tomorrow, it just lives. I frowned, not understanding, but something in his tone made me listen. One sentence changed my life, he said, pausing to let the words settle. A stranger told me you're enough just as you are. I didn't believe it then, but I carried it until I did. His eyes met mine, and I felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. The old man's words lingered, heavy yet freeing, like a truth I'd always known but forgotten. I wanted to ask him more, who he was, what his life had been, but I stayed quiet, afraid to break the moment. The park seemed softer now, the bare trees less bleak, the distant laughter of children less mocking. I thought about my life, the endless chase for something I couldn't name. I'd spent years measuring myself against others, colleagues with promotions, friends with perfect families, strangers on social media with curated lives. I was never enough, always falling short. The old man leaned back, his gaze drifting to the sky, where clouds parted to reveal a sliver of pale sunlight. People spend their lives running, he said, but they don't know what they're chasing. His voice was a whisper, yet it cut through my thoughts. I nodded, my throat tight. I wanted to tell him how tired I was, how every day felt like a battle I was losing, but he seemed to know. He tapped his cane lightly on the ground, the sound grounding me. That sentence, he continued, it wasn't magic. It just made me stop and look at myself, not who I thought I should be, but who I was. I felt a pang in my chest, a mix of hope and fear. Could it be that simple? I didn't believe in epiphanies, not anymore. Life had taught me that change was slow, painful, often impossible. Yet here was this stranger, his face etched with time, telling me I was enough. I looked at the sparrow again, still pecking, unaware of my turmoil. It was so small, so fragile, yet it survived. Maybe that was enough. The old man smiled faintly, as if he sensed the shift in me. He didn't push, didn't preach. He just sat there, present, like a lighthouse in my storm. For the first time that day, I felt my shoulders relax, the weight of my failures a little lighter. I didn't know his name, but I knew I'd never forget him. The wind picked up, scattering leaves, and I felt something stir inside me, a spark, faint but real. Dusk was settling over the park, the sky a bruised purple, and the air carried the sharp bite of coming winter. The old man stood slowly, leaning on his cane, his movements deliberate as if he'd learned to savor every step. I watched him, my mind still reeling from his words. You're enough just as you are. It sounded so simple, almost cliche, but coming from him, it felt like a lifeline. I wanted to ask him to stay, to tell me how to believe it, but I couldn't find the words. He adjusted his coat and looked at me one last time, his eyes warm, like embers in a dying fire. Take care, son, he said, and with a nod, he started down the path, his cane tapping softly against the pavement. I watched him go, a solitary figure blending into the twilight, until he was just a shadow among the trees. I sat there, alone now, the bench cold beneath me. The park was emptying, the laughter gone, replaced by the quiet hum of evening. I thought about my life, my job, my loneliness, the dreams I'd buried. I'd always believed I had to be more successful, more charismatic, more everything. But what if I was enough? The thought was terrifying, not because it was wrong, but because it meant I had to stop running. I had to face myself. I stood, my legs unsteady, and started walking, the leaves crunching underfoot. The sparrow was gone, but its image stayed with me, small, ordinary enough. I passed the spot where the old man had stood, and I felt a strange gratitude, not just for him, but for the moment we'd shared. I didn't know if I could live up to his words, but I wanted to try. For the first time in years, I felt a flicker of hope, fragile but stubborn, like a seed pushing through cracked earth. As I left the park, the first stars appeared, faint against the darkening sky, and I whispered to myself, "You're enough." It wasn't a promise, but it was a start.